Welcome back to redeisgn. In our last video we looked at how the redeisgn brand came together, and today we're looking at another logo design, this time for a YouTube channel called Ferrigno Freedom. Beyond being a case study of how this logo came about, this will also be a cautionary tale of what can go wrong with a project like this. I'll point out some pitfalls that even experienced designers can all too easily fall into if they aren't careful. Ferrigno Freedom is a channel run by Dante Ferrigno, who has courageously documented his weight loss and health journey through the lion diet. As someone who has been struggling with my weight all my life, I've tried every diet under the sun, and I've had the most success with the keto and carnivore diets. I wouldn't have had a fraction of that success were it not for people like Dante being so open and honest with sharing his journey with the world. Not only is his channel an excellent source of dietary information, but it's also an incredible source of inspiration for me. With that in mind, I wanted to show a token of my appreciation by surprising him with a potential logo upgrade. Just to be clear, as of the making of this video, Dante doesn't even know who I am, let alone I'm working on this. So everything you see in this video are ideas that I have had based on what I think might be a good fit for his channel. If this logo isn't to your liking, that's purely on me and not any reflection of Dante or his channel. With that out of the way, let's get started. As always with logo designs, I start on the iPad sketching out a handful of ideas as quickly as I can until I find something that jumps out at me. I'm not worrying about making things look good right now, I'm just trying to get the ideas out of my head as quickly as possible. I wanted to incorporate up to 3 concepts from his channel for this logo. The first is the concept of broken chain, something found in Dante's current logo that represents the feeling of freedom he has got from following this diet and getting control of his health again. The second concept would be a lion, as the key focus of Dante's channel is a more concentrated version of the carnivore diet called the lion diet, meaning Dante only consumes ruminant animals, salt and water. Another representation of this diet is the third thing I wanted to include, a nice fat steak. The first design that jumped out at me was a combination of multiple designs that would incorporate all 3 elements. The logo mark would be a lion eating a steak, and I would work the concept of breaking chains into the logo type. It was about here that I hit my first real snag of the project. It has been quite a while since I've used an animal in a logo design, but I have extensive experience with illustrating animals, as one of my previous jobs was creating illustrations for fall balloons. As a result, I had my illustration hat on more than my logo design hat at this point, leading me down the wrong path. There is quite a difference between an illustration and a logo mark. Even a cartoony illustration would typically have far too much detail for a logo mark. As a rule, logos should be a simplistic representation of a concept. They should portray their message in the most efficient manner possible without getting overly complex. This is so that the logo can work at any size and is instantly recognisable at a glance. Even when I tried to simplify this design, I never went far enough, and it just didn't work for me as a logo. Rather than trying to simplify it even more at this point, I took a step back and tried out a new design. This time, the concept was to depict a lion breaking free from chains, and I intended to keep it simple right from the start. You'll soon see that I failed at this a second time. To simplify it, I should have stuck to something like just the silhouette of the lion, or maybe even some abstract shapes that suggested the shape of a lion. As a result of not taking this action, I ended up trying multiple times to refine this concept by simplifying it, but I never took it far enough. However, at this point I fell into another trap of being too close to my design. By this point I'd put in a significant amount of time into this one concept rather than moving on, and I had become deeply attached to it. This attachment led to a mistake where I took this concept to Adobe Illustrator and started working it up far too soon. In hindsight, I spent far too long working up this concept that would never work. Stepping away for an hour and looking at it with fresh eyes would have been enough to show me all the problems with this design. Sure enough, that's exactly what happened, but not until I had taken this design much further than it ever should have gone. In an effort to rescue that design, I took it back to the iPad to see if I could somehow turn it into a logo by simplifying it as much as I could. However, it wasn't long before I realised I was falling into the sunk cost fallacy, and it was time to move on. I was determined to avoid making the same mistake a third time, and decided to relook at the initial concept, but with my logo designer hat firmly in place. I still thought this initial concept was good, I just needed to keep things simple and represent the idea without overcomplicating things. Finally, I came up with something I was genuinely happy with. It still may be a bit more illustrated than I might like, but I got a sports team logo vibe from it that I thought might fit Dante well, from the little I can predict of his interests outside the diet. This time, when I took it into Illustrator, I was keen to keep my logo designer hat in place by using a different method for refining the design. Rather than drawing it this time, I used a mixture of geometric shapes and the Shape Builder tool. This isn't something I would typically do for an image like this, but I felt it would keep me from getting too focused on the details, and it would also create a more polished finish to the image that felt less hand-drawn. Once completed, I was happy with this version of the logo, and I started a series of exercises to see if I could refine it further. Again, I was looking to move it away from illustration and more towards being a logo. I tested out some quick colours here to see if it would work as a sports team mascot style of image, but I felt it was taking me away from it feeling like the logo again, so I went back to focusing on the shape alone. The aha moment for me was when I experimented with turning the lion's mane black and realised that when it was only half black it created an interesting shape. It created a more solid silhouette even if it was only half filled in, making it less like an outline of an illustration. However, it was more visually interesting than if it were perfectly symmetrical. Now that the saga of the illustrated logo mark was over, I can move on to the typographic element of this logo, which thankfully was a much smoother experience. As previously discussed, I wanted to incorporate the theme of breaking chains into the logo type and decided to do that primarily through the double E in freedom. A broken chain link looks like two E's with one of them turned backwards, and I thought that could add an interesting visual element to these two words. With this concept in mind, choosing the typeface became about finding a font I could adapt to look like the letters were links in a chain. Once that was done, it was simply a case of manipulating those letters so that they were still readable as the words Ferrigno Freedom, but also sold the concept of breaking chains. This concept came together relatively quickly, and it wasn't long before I had something that I thought worked with the logo mark, or even on its own as a standalone logo. At this point I think the logo as a shape looked pretty good. Before adding some colour, I did some tests to see how it worked on different coloured backgrounds and when resized for different orientations. My initial instinct when picking the colour palette was to stick with something lion themed, maybe a light brown or orange colour. However, I wasn't happy with how this turned out, so I changed my focus from the lion element to the carnivore element, red meat. A quick search online for the carnivore diet brought up a plethora of images of raw meat on a dark stone background, which provided a really intriguing colour contrast that I was keen to incorporate into the logo. From this point, it was a case of refining those two colours so that they had a decent amount of contrast of both dark and light backgrounds. After some final tests to ensure the logo worked at a variety of sizes, it was time to test in a real-world scenario. In this case, seeing how it could be applied to the homepage of Dante's channel. I started by creating a quick image to test how the logo could work with that raw meat on slate style I had encountered in my research earlier. Happy with how that turned out, I started working on the banner for the channel. This template for the banner fits how the YouTube banners work. The larger area is what people see on TVs, the full width of the long banner in the middle is what people see on a computer, and the narrow area in the middle of that banner is the safe zone that people see on a mobile phone. I originally designed everything to work on the mobile phone, but after testing it on the desktop version, I realised it looked strange in that format and cluttered if it was shrunk down to phone size, so I reorganised it so that you get all the extra details on the desktop, but on a mobile you just see the logo. Of course, a YouTube page is more than just a banner, so I treated the rest of this screenshot as an exercise in how the brand might be applied based on this logo. I started with updating the channel profile picture, then moved on to the thumbnails. These aren't anything polished, but more quick tests to make sure that the logo could work as part of a cohesive brand language. So there you have it, a potential upgrade to the current Ferrigno Freedom logo. I believe this design could work well for the channel and would look great on merchandise too. Of course, design is subjective, so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Did I nail it, or do you have suggestions? If you're impressed with this design and have your own YouTube channel in need of a fresh look, head over to redeisgn.com to get in touch. I'd be thrilled to work with you on your next branding project. For those of you interested in the benefits of the lion diet or health in general, I highly recommend checking out Ferrigno Freedom's channel. With hundreds of informative videos, his content has been invaluable to me and thousands of others on their health journey. Before you go, if you found value in this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more insights into the creative process. Your support means the world to me and helps the channel grow. Remember, great design can transform your brand, so keep creating and I'll see you in the next video.